नारे हैदरी हुसैनियत हुसैनियत यजीदियत यजीदियत और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद अंतर सलवात मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बुलंदतर सलवात सल्ली अला मुहम्मद वाले मुहम्मद वअज्जल फरजहुम
والتحية والإكرام على خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيدنا على الإمام المنتظر وحجة الله الثاني عشر ابن العسكري المنتظر ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم القرآن الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Into our third night of discussion, and just as I was coming, I was informed by Hashim Bhai to remember Muharram Rahim Kanji or Surah Al-Fatiha. So let's put our hands together, remember the Marhuma and all our Marhamin and Marhumat. In fact, Kul Marhamin and Marhumat, Rahimullah man qara'a Al-Fatiha. محمد وآل محمد صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Well, last night our discussion was revolving around our relation and connection with the 12th Imam and how to ensure that we bring Imam into our lives and not place him on a pedestal as we have done for the Holy Quran, only bringing him out from that. We've placed him into a second ghaibat. He is already into ghaibat, and then we make him a ghaib person from our lives by then putting him into a second ghaibat, only pulling him out of the second ghaibat from the 15th, on the 15th of Sha'ban, the Shab Barat, and then we put him back over there. only to remember and that's the only thing that we do. Today I want to present before you. You have to understand, when we say the lecture is for the youths, it's it's for all of us. It's just the name that we're giving for the youths, out of respect for the elders. This is also for the elders, because a lot of the misconceptions in our community are not just for the youths. It's there from times immemorial, and we have to at times take these issues head on and solve it and correct it, so that the following generations don't go into the same problems as the elders have fallen. And so today I want to present before you one particular aspect that plagues our community, wherever the Shiite community is worldwide. Whether it be the subcontinent, whether they be East Africa, whether they be in America or in Europe, wherever. This is a misconception that needs to be corrected, and we have to address it at some point of time. And in order to address this particular issue, I need to build up a little background for you to understand. On the basis of that background, then we will pick up this issue and then try to correct it. We've always said, we've got numerous traditions, Moulana Shahnawaz is over here, but we've always mentioned, according to the Shiite belief, the world cannot be empty of the Hujjat of God. The representative of God has to be here. And this goes back very quickly in 2-3 sentences, the logic behind this. This is not a discussion on to explain full-fledged. Just to explain that why it is important to have the Hujjat of God. See, the Hujjat of God is a representative of God, the positive dimension of a person, of guidance in the world. Why is it so important to be here? For a Hujjat of God to be upon the earth. And this goes back to the Adalat of God, the justice of God. Very quickly, without going into depths, just for the elders, those who are well informed, the kids can just let it go. It all boils down to the Adalat of God, the justice of God. The reason was that up to a certain time before the Day of Judgment, you have an absolute negative entity that's existing on this earth, on the universe, which is called Shaitan. And Quran repeatedly says, إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. He is for you an open enemy. It is against the Adalat, and we know very categorically. He says, give me respite and I will lead. I will deviate all the children of Adam up to the Day of Judgment. So this is not up to the Day of Judgment. إِلَى يَوْمٍ مَعْلُومٍ. A day, a time before the Day of Judgment is the time that I give to you. So this entity is a sworn enemy of mankind, of Bani Adam, is alive always, looking for a pretext to misguide and beguile the people. It is against the Adalat of God that a positive entity is not existing to offset the negative entity. Shaitan will continue to remain. If at any given moment of time or for a period of time, if Allah does not have His representative, it will be against the justice of God that He's placed a negative entity to beguile and mislead the people, but that there is not a positive entity to guide and take people to the right path. And hence it becomes important that at any given moment of time, the world does not remain empty out of the Hujjat of God. So very simple logic. It's a very detailed discussions, and we know study in houses, the ulama teach us, and we know the fundamentals of it. This is a very simple logic to understand. If there's a negative entity, the justice demands that there has to be a positive entity. Having said that, we have to understand that the representative of God that is upon the earth can take place in 3 positions. The representative can either be a Nabi. Okay, 2 groups. The second group is split into 2. So he can either be a Nabi, or he can be a successor of the Nabi, which is referred to as the Wasi or Awsiya. Wasi means a successor. So Wasiyat, when you say Wasiyat means what? You leave behind something that is your successor to tell the people what needs to be done after you've gone. So it's either a Nabi or his Wasi. This group of Wasi can be divided into 2. Individuals in this Awsiya can either reach the state of Imamat, like our Imams, or they're not Imams. So basically there are 3 types of people who are the representative, who can be the representative of God upon the earth. 1, a Nabi. 2, an Imam. Or 3, an individual who is a representative of the Prophet but not an Imam. So for example, you've got a Nabi like the Holy Prophet. He's a representative of God upon the earth at his point of time. Times you've got an Imam who's a representative of God, who's like today, the 12th Imam. At times you've got an Imam you've got a representative who's not a Nabi, who's not an Imam, but still he's a representative of one of the Imams, like Yushab the Noha. So you get me, 3 categories of people. Now one thing you have to remember, and this is when I will start. If the children have not understood, the elders need to understand and then explain it to the children when we go back home, whether it is the gents and the ladies. One thing we have to understand very carefully is that Allah always chooses as His representative on earth at that point of time a person who is the most superior to all the other individuals at that point of time. Keep this in mind. Allah will choose to be His representative on earth the person who's the most superior to all the other individuals at that point of time. Superior in ilm, superior in knowledge, superior in taqwa, superior in bravery, superior in courage, superior in strength. That person at that point of time who's the most learned, who's the most generous, who's the most pious, who has the most knowledge, who's the most brave, who's the most courageous, who's got the most strength, is the person God says, you are going to be my representative at this point upon the earth. And this is very logical in our lives. We can see it. If you have a business, if you have a profession, you want to hire somebody, you put out an advert, the response comes, the CV comes. What do you look? You look at, you've got CVs, you shortlist to find out who are the best. Amongst those shortlisted ones, you identify one who's the most suited, who's the most accomplished, who's got the maximum best qualifications, who's got the most experience, who's proved, who's got a good track record. You will never pick up somebody, so you want an accountant for your firm. You will not go for somebody who's failed his ACCAs 10 times and is still struggling. Because that person is going to not help you. You want somebody who's done ACCAs, who's passed in 1 or 2 attempts the professional papers, who's got a good experience in accountancy, then you'll say, oh, this person is the right person for my job. You will pick up amongst all the applicants the one who's the most superior for your job, for your business. You won't look at the one who's the weakest. This is exactly the same thing that goes with God. A person who's the most superior was the one who Allah picks up. You are my superior, you are my representative in this period of time. When you die, then I will look at that particular moment of time, at your death, who's the most superior person. I will pick that person and I will make him my representative. It's logic? Yeah? This now, I'm trying to put it into Arabic text so that it becomes easier to understand and for me to speak out. This person who's the most superior is that one person. All the other people at that time are inferior to him, correct? So the most superior person is on earth is the Hujjat of God. At the time of the Holy Prophet, the most superior was the Holy Prophet. At the time of Isa, at the time of Musa, it was Musa and Isa. He was the most superior. All the other people, it might get a little academic, but it's very important to where I want to take you. See, every majlis cannot be a wahwa majlis. Certain things you have to understand and know. So this person who's the most superior is referred to as Fadil. In Arabic is referred to as Fadil. The one who are inferior to him, which is basically everybody other than him, are referred to as the Mafdul. Urdu mein bhi kehte Fadil or Mafdul. The one who's superior is called Fadil. The one who's inferior to the superior person, all of them are referred to as Mafdul. So understood. Fadil, Mafdul. The superior one is Fadil, one, and Mafdul, many, because anybody other than superior are Mafdul. The problem that we have with all the other sects is exactly on the issue of Fadil and Mafdul. Absolutely. This is our main difference between us and the other sects. There is no other point. This is the fundamental point. We say there is one Fadil and numerous Mafdul. According to us, the father is Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
This is the only problem that we have. He said, look, there is one person who is a father. There are others who are mafdul. The father, according to the rational logic of society, it's always the superior, the father who needs to be given preference over the mafdul, who are the inferior people. And our entire discussion with the other sex revolve around this. You have taken mafdul and given the preference to a mafdul over father. We've got Ali ibn Abi Talib, who's father, and you have given him less of a preference. You have given those who are inferior to him as preference over him. And this is not me who's saying. How many of us have not heard about Ibn Abil Hadid al-Mu'tazil, the great Shari, the great interpreter, the great Mufassir, the great one who expounds Nahjul Balagha? He's Nahjul Balagha. If you look at his Shar of Nahjul Balagha, it's a real Nafis Shar. At times he's been really just, but at times he's gone back to his roots. At times he's gone back to his roots. There are times, and I can prove it to you, when he's been really just. When he's talking about Ayat al-Tathir, when he's talking about the Afdaliyat of Ali, even on this occasion, he attests the question of the Afdaliyat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. But look, he goes back to his roots. In one of his chapters, when he's starting, you know how he starts off with? He says, Alhamdulillah alladhi qaddama al-mafdul ala al-fadil. Those who know Arabic will know. He says, Khuda ka shukr hai Khuda ka. Us Khuda ka ke jisne mafzul ko taqdeem diya fazil ka. Means what? Now he's referring, let me translate into English. It says, praise be to Allah, that God who has given preference to an inferior person over a superior person. Who has given preference to a mafdul over father. Whom is he referring to? He's referring to the 3 Khilafats and the 4 Khilafats. He is attesting Ali is father. He is attesting 1, 2 and 3, the first Khalifa, the second Khalifa. And I can speak it openly because it's academic, it's there in the books, yeah? So it's not something that we are criticizing. We're quoting somebody. He attests to the fact that Ali ibn Abi Talib is father. And we mentioned, superior can only be one person. He's attesting that anybody other than Ali is mafdul. That means Khalifa Awal, Khalifa Dubum, Khalifa Sibum, the first, second and third Khalifas are mafdul. And he goes on to say, Alhamdulillah, alladhi, praise be to Allah, qaddama, who's given preference to mafdul. That means he's made somebody the first Khalifa who's not Ali. He's made somebody the second Khalifa who's not Ali. Who's made somebody the third Khalifa who's not Ali. Alladhi qaddama al-mafdul ala al-fadil. Ali is afdal according to me, Ibn Abil Hadid al-Mu'tazili, one of the most revered scholars in the Sunni world. He says, I know Ali is afdal, and I praise God for him who has given afdali, who's given preference to those who are inferior over those who's father. And remember this, yeah, always this has been the thing that had always hurt Ali, always. Because Ali knew his rank. Ali knew who he was. Nobody needed to tell Ali who he was. He knew he was going to be born in the Kaaba. He knew 3 days he would be taken care of by ladies of paradise. He knew the walls of the Kaaba would split for him to come out. He knew that the first sight that he would have would be of the Holy Prophet. He knew that when he would be asked, he would be able to recite Injil and Tawrat and Zabur and the Quran, which was not revealed as yet. Ali knew this. When he knows his rank, yeah, and then when he's given, he's humiliated, that hurts a lot. You ask any father sitting over here, a person who's not the member of the family, ask any of the elders, yeah, you kids. If there is a disruption or humiliation, somebody talks roughly, a member of the community to a member, to a family, to a person, X, he will feel bad. But he will say, let it go, he's a member of the community. But in the congregation, if the person who humiliates him is not a member of the community, it is his own son, he talks rough, his hurt will be 10 times more, 50 times more. मेरा लड़का लोगों के सामने मेरी बेइज्जती कर, वो शख्स तो कर गया, चलिए जाने दीजिए, खुदा देख लेगा क़यामत के दिन. लेकिन मेरा लड़का, मेरा बेटा सबके सामने, that is too difficult to do. Ali is saying exactly the same thing. He says, I know my rank in the eyes of God. You look at Ali, his superiority, his afdaliyat with respect to ilm, knowledge. Who has the Prophet ever said, Ana Madinatul ilma Aliyun Baba? You tell. That's the afdaliyat. The Holy Prophet is talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib in terms of ilm. In terms of bravery, we go back to that issue, Battle of Khandaq. When he says, لَأُعْطِيَنَّ الرَّعْيَةَ قَدًا رَجُلًا كَرَّارٍ غَيْرَ فَرَّارٍ. Tomorrow, 39 days you've tried. All these, कहता ना Surman Khan, 30 Khan है, जो भी आप कहता 39 days I've seen you. You've struggled and struggled and you've not got through to Khaybar. Tomorrow I'm going to give the flag to somebody who's Karrar غَيْرَ فَرَّارٍ. But the words after that is more important. That man, yuhibbullah. He loves Allah and Allah loves him. This is what I'm going to do. Now what does this mean? 39 days he led the people, those big people, the elites of Quraysh. You try to get over Khaybar if you're courageous. When it didn't work out, he says, now tomorrow I'm going to give somebody who will make sure that he opens the door of Khaybar. Did he not do it? This is the bravery. He gave everybody a chance. You think you are superior to Ali. I'm giving you a chance. 39 days, go and make an effort to open Khaybar. You fail, now I'm going to give somebody who's not going to fail. This is the superiority of Ali in terms of courage and bravery. In terms of strength, you know the door of Khaybar. It required 40 people to move, to open, and 40 people to close. What does Ali do? With 2 fingers he uproots it. Means what? For 39 days he told the people, if you think you're superior to Ali in bravery, you are not. Now he's conquered, he's on the way, he wants to open the door. You require 40 people to open it. I'm letting Ali do it, he will do it with 2 fingers. Means what? In strength, Ali is superior to all of you. Now superiority of Ali in ilm, superiority of Ali in courage, superiority of Ali in strength, everything he is superior to you. This is what Ali says, I know I'm superior to you. And it's not that just the people, the Holy Prophet is saying I'm superior, I'm Fadil, and everybody else other than me is Mafdul. It's not just me who's saying it. It's not just the Prophet who's saying it, who keeps saying, Ana Madinatul ilma Aliyun Babuha. I'm to give the flag to somebody, Rajulan Karrar Ghaira Farrar. It's not Ali. Even those whom you have given superiority over me, they themselves accept this fact. In their books, the Khalifa Awwal has gone on record to have said, Aqiluni, lastu bi khairin minkum wa aliyun fikum. He says, leave me alone, for I'm not the best amongst you, for as long as Ali is there amongst you. This is who's saying? This is not the Holy Prophet saying. This is not the Ali himself saying. These are the people who have been given preference over Ali, who's saying, Aqiluni, falastu bi khairin. I'm not the best person from amongst you, wa aliyun fikum. For as long as Ali is amongst you, I cannot be the best of you. This is Khalifa Awwal saying. And the second Khalifa, though you know, Lawla Ali, la halakaman. How many times? What does this mean? It means even those people who have been given preference over the Fadil, that means the Mafdul, they themselves realize we are inferior to Ali. This is what used to hurt Ali. This is what used to hurt Ali. So where are we leading to? That the person who Allah selects as his representative has to be the most superior person. He has to be the most superior person. You tell me, in this entire group that was there at Thaqifa at that time, at the time of the death of the Holy Prophet, how many could raise their hands and say, I am part of that وَيُطَحِّرَكُمْ تَطْحِيرًا? How many could say it? Isn't showing the superiority of Ali now in terms of purity? He's superior in ilm, he's superior in courage, he's superior in strength, he's superior in purity. What else do you want? Yet you want to make him mafdhul. This is what used to hurt Ali a lot. Now the problem is this. The problem in our community. We're coming to the problem. I'll try to keep it short. Might not. No guarantees, but let's see. So you heard it. All this background was leading up to this fact. That the representative of God has to be the best at that point of time in the world. Now where the problem comes. The problem comes, and I'll pick up 2 examples. Without any disrespect, we're trying to academically and according to our faith, purify what we have got wrong. I want to ask you with hands on the heart. I'm going to give you two comparisons and two examples of two individuals, making it four. To make us understand, we need to get our aqaid right. We need to get our understanding right. Because aisa na ho ki sawab ki badli kawab ho jaye aur khulus ka julus nikal. I can't translate this into English, yeah? So those parents might want to translate that at home. How do you translate kebab into sawab and sawab into kebab? You can't translate. They won't understand this. But the problem over here is that we've got this. I'm giving you two examples. And we need to get our aqaids right. See, Islam needs to be understood by the heart, by the mind and the heart, not just by the heart. You need to understand with basira. I'm giving you two examples. The Holy Prophet and Amirul Mu'mineen sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You don't raise certain ranks inappropriately. The second example that I'm giving is Imam Hussain a.s. and Hazrat Abbas a.s. These two examples, now honestly, hands on the heart. In our community, do we not have this belief? That when the Prophet was there, the man who really was strong was Ali ibn Abi Talib. When Hazrat Abbas was there, he was the strong one. Then what happened with the Holy Prophet and Imam Hussain alayhi salam? The Holy Prophet and Imam Hussain, वो कहते हैं ना उर्दू में अल्लाह मियाँ की गाय थी, वो बेचारे जो है वो कमजोर थे, Ali थे वो strong थे to protect the Holy Prophet. Hussain थे, लेकिन जो ताकत थी वो हजरत अब्बास की थी. You ask any child and they will say, you know, Hazrat Abbas was strong. He was the man of strength. You ask anybody and they will say, you know, Ali was the strong one. But as this goes against contradiction to us and our beliefs. Because Ali was at a time when the Prophet was there. The Hujjat of God at that time was the Holy Prophet. After the Holy Prophet, yes, Imam Ali. But at the time when the Holy Prophet was there, the Hujjat of God was not Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is not me who's saying this. You pick up the entire Nahjul Balagh. You pick up the entire Nahjul Balagh. And I'm quoting two individuals. Allama Tabatabai Tafsirul Mizan. And in today's time, inarguably the greatest mufassir of the entire Muslim world, Ayatollah Jawad Yamni, Hafadahullah. Both have gone on record, we have said it. You pick up every khutbah of Amirul Mu'mineen and check out the date. You will not find one khutbah that Amirul Mu'mineen has delivered in the presence and during the time of the Holy Prophet. All his khutbah, all of which then becomes Nahjul Balagha, which becomes the brother of the Quran, Akhul Quran. The second book in eloquence after the Quran. All the khutbahs have been after the Holy Prophet has passed him. He would never open his mouth to give khutbah till the Holy Prophet was there. Because he knew he was not the Hujjat of God at that time. It was the Holy Prophet who was the Hujjat of God. Subhanallah. You pick up Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain. Tell me one instance where Imam Hussain has taken precedence during the Imamat of Imam Hussain. Imam Hassan. They were both Imaman. The Prophet has said, Al-Hassan wal-Hussain Imaman, Qama aw Qa'ada. At any stage of their life, they are the Imams. Say the Shabab Ahlul Jannah. But at one time, there is only one Hujjat of God. At the time when Imam Hassan was there, Imam Hussain was not the Hujjat of God. Hussain was Hussain. Hussain was the qalb of Rasulullah. Hussain was the heart of Fatima, but he was not the Imam at that time. He was not the Hujjat of God at that time. Pick up any word, any saying, any statement of Hussain and see if he's taken precedence over his elder brother Imam Hassan when the Imamat of Imam Hassan was going. All the statements of Imam Hussain was after the Shahadat of Imam Hassan. Why? Because he knew, I may have been considered as the Imaman, whether standing or sitting. I may be saying the Shabab Ahlul Jannah. But at this point of time when my brother Hassan is there, he is the Imam and the Hujjat of God. We are not removing anybody in rank. We are trying to tell you the real position. So at that time, now we're coming to Imam, the Prophet and Imam Ali. Tell us. Everybody will say, oh, Rasul Khuda wo Allah Miyan ki gaye the. वो बेचारे जो है वो कहाँ जंग में वो जंग में तो अली थे जो चट्टान बने थे. We're not saying no. Yes, he was there. The Prophet would give him an opportunity, but that does not mean the Prophet did not have strength on. If Allah had selected the Holy Prophet to be His representative at that point of time, then in terms of ilm, in terms of taqwa, in terms of sakhawat, in terms of courage, in terms of bravery, in terms of strength, the Holy Prophet at that time was stronger than Ali ibn Abi Talib. Says who? Says me? No, Baba. Who am I to say something? I'm not here to give my own opinion. Understand, people like us are just postmen. Because that's what we've been told by the Imams. You don't have to do anything stupid. Or you don't have to do something ingenuous. Just pass our messages to the people. The hearts that are fertile will take them. The hearts that are not fertile will throw them away. You don't have to worry about guidance. You just convey our messages to the people. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ, Allah says to the Holy Prophet. You have no authority to guide the people. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. It is Allah who guides whom He wishes. So Salman, who's not from the Quraysh, comes and he becomes Salman min Ahlul Bayt. But Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, related to the Holy Prophet, dies. Tabbat yada Abi Lahab. I decide whom I guide. Salman might not be, he might from Persia. But if I want to guide him by your words, I will guide him. Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl may be related to you. Maybe from your family. But if I don't want to guide them, you will not be able to guide them, my Prophet. I guide. Similarly over here, the Holy Prophet and Amirul Mu'mineen, he is the best of the person of God upon the earth. You know, and I will prove this to you. I will prove this to you. We say, and the concept is, Ali is stronger than the Holy Prophet. Nothing could be further than the truth. Because in Nahjul Balagha, Ali would say, go look at it. First thing he would say, I used to follow the Holy Prophet like a child follows the mother, the camel. But that all of you heard. But we're talking about war and bravery, yeah, that we're comparing Ali to the Holy Prophet. Now we're all talking about the time when Ali is still not, the Holy Prophet is still alive, yeah. Once a Prophet dies and Ali comes to the fore. Don't get me wrong, don't get me mixed up. Don't tell me I'm derogating and degrading Amirul Mu'mineen. No, I'm trying to tell you the position of Amirul Mu'mineen and the Holy Prophet when the Prophet of God is the Hujjat of God. Once he dies, then yes, he's Qutb Alam. He is the fulcrum around which the entire universe will run. That we have no problem. He himself says it in Nahjul Balagha. In Khutbah Shiqqiya. This is after the death of the Holy Prophet. He says, today I am the fulcrum of the universe. You know fulcrum? We studied in school. We know fulcrum what it is, yeah? The seesaw, the fulcrum. He says, I am the fulcrum of the universe. The universe revolves around me. But certain individual, لَقَدْ تَقَمَّسَهَا فُلَانِ ibn Fulan. Certain transcripts have said Fulan ibn Fulan without the name. Certain transcripts have named the person. He says, لَقَدْ تَقَمَّسَهَا. Go and look at the Nahjul Balagha. I'm giving you references. He says, لَقَدْ تَقَمَّسَهَا. Taqammasa comes from the word qamis. Qamis means shirt. When you wear it, yeah? He says, لَقَدْ تَقَمَّسَهَا. That individual took the khilafat and wore it like a shirt as if it belonged to him. وَهُوَ يَعْلَمْ أَنَّ مَحَلِّ مِنْهَا مَحَلُّ الْقُطْبِ مِنَ الرِّحَى. He knew my position. And you know what example he gives? वो चक्की होती ना हम जो हमारे घरों में पीसते हैं. आजकल तो ग्राइंडर है लेकिन जो है पाकिस्तान हिंदुस्तान में वो चक्की होती. That grinder, you know how it's made up of 3 parts? That grinder is made up of 3 parts. 2 stones. Yes, the bottom stone is fixed. The top stone is moving, it's got a handle. But the most important thing is there's a little piece of wood. There's a hole between the 2 grinders and there's a piece of wood. So when you move it, that wood stops the top part to move out. If you take it out, you will never be able to grind. Because the moment you turn, the top portion will move out. The moment you put some seeds and you try to move it, it will move out. What holds the grinder in place is that piece of wood. Imam says, I am that piece of wood in this world of existence. Mahalli minha mahallul qutb min al-raha. That qutb, that piece of wood is called qutb. Raha means that grinder. It says, my position in this universe is like that piece of wood in that grinder. You pick it out, you will never be able to turn the world of existence. It is without me, the grinder of the world and the universe will not function. it will fall apart. It's only when I am there this world falls. But this is after the Prophet has died away. Before the Prophet has passed away, this khutbah, this pivot, this axis, this piece of wood is the Holy Prophet. The world revolves around him. That is why he said, لَوْلَاكَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْأَفْلَاقَ. Ya Ahmad, if it was not for you, we would not have created this entire universe. Because he is now the Hujjat of God. And we think Ali is the strongest. You know what Ali says in Nahjul Balagha? He says, إِذَا اشْتَدَّتِ الْحَرْبِ. When we were in battle, and when we are, this is Nahjul Balagha. إِذَا اشْتَدَّتِ الْحَرْبِ. When the battles would become extremely ferocious. And we know the strength of Ali ibn Abi Talib in battle. Yeah. Shere Khuda. He says, when the battle will become real tough, yeah. اتقينا برسول الله. We would go to the Prophet and seek his protection. I am regarded as the strongest person. He would send me out to fight, yes. But when the battles would really become push comes to shove, and we are now feeling threatened, ittaqayna bi Rasulillah. We would take shelter of the Holy Prophet. Holy Prophet would stand before us and fight against him. Who has taught us about this? Who has told us about this? We need to be telling our children, look, there are phases in a person's life. There are states in a person's life. You pick up that long hadith of the 8th Imam. It's probably 1.5 full scale. When he talks about the qualities of an Imam. Ajab Rivat, you need to read all these. All this Sidney Sheldon and Sigmund Freud and all these books that you read. Look at what Imam is saying when he talks about the sifat of an Imam. When somebody comes to the Imam and says, how do you know that the past Imam has passed away and you've become an Imam? He says, as soon as the past Imam passes away, a certain sense of absolute taslim and awe feeling comes upon us that now we feel more submissive to Allah, more obedient to Allah. A state that we cannot describe. At that time we know we have now been graced with the mansab and the position of Imam. This is not an ordinary thing. So they know we've not reached that state because the Prophet is there alive still. So when the time when things become push comes to shove, we have to take the help of the Prophet to protect us. But you ask our kids in the madrasa, who was stronger? They say, Ali ibn Abi Talib was stronger. Not correct, Baba Jan. Let's get our aqaid sorted out correctly. When the time of the Holy Prophet is superior. When the Prophet goes away, Ali is superior. Same thing takes place with Hazrat Abbas and Imam Hussain. You ask anybody, Hazrat Abbas, Sher Khuda ka beta. And Imam Hussain, he's made to appear as a person with tasbih in the hands, waiting for Abbas, Fulan. It's wrong, it's not right. The Riwayat tell us, Maqtal tell us in that final assault. In that final assault, after that last rukhsat. आखिरी रुखसती के बाद जब मौलाना हुसैन जब मक्तल में निकले ना जंग के लिए तो जो है वो दुश्मन जो है वो ताना दे रहे थे. They were taunting him. Oh, you're so old now, you're 54 years old, 57 years old. You're tired, the whole day you've been picking up the bodies. You're also 3 days hungry and thirsty. Hussein, what will you fight? At that time, Bibi Zainab told, oh my brother Hussein, show them the power of the blood of Fatima Zahra. And he launched 3 attacks. He launched 3 attacks on the enemies. This man, he's an old man, 57-year-old. Whole day he's been picking up lashas. 3 days thirsty. You know the level of thirst, Akbar comes, puts them into the might, we don't have to go to that. Yet he launches the attack because the hujjat of God upon the earth. Riwayat tells us the attacks that he launched were so ferocious. These are 30,000 people now. One man, but what a man. Man of God. Representative of God. Says 3 attacks he launched. 30,000 people. The last row of the Yazidi forces were thrown out of Karbala. One man, 30,000 people out of Karbala. The last person was out of the boundaries of Karbala.
खुशनूदी है अबा अब्दुल्लाह बुलंदतर सलावत
You understand that old man is not fighting. But when it comes to being a representative of God, old and young doesn't matter. Because Ali is born, just 3 days he's reciting the Quran. It doesn't matter if you're a representative of God. You will be the most powerful person. You have to be fathered. You cannot be mafdul. It cannot work in the world of God that if a person like you and me with our limited knowledge, resources and our limited understanding know that when I have 2 CVs I will prefer a superior one. How do you expect God to go and pick up an inferior person to represent his religion? Does it work? So that Hussein's army, Hussein's strength, people talk about Abbas being strong. Yes, Abbas was strong, there's no doubt about it. What we are saying is in comparison to Imam Hussein, Abbas's strength was a certain level, but Hussein being Hujjat of God, his strength was far superior. So this is what we need to tell the people, our kids. Abbas was strong, but Hussein was stronger. Let them not feel Hussein was a weak man of Musalla with tasbih in his hand, sitting on the Musalla wanting Abbas to do everything. He showed what he could do in the final moments of his life, till that word comes from God. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna. Don't show them anymore. I know what you can do because I have given you the power. Come back to me. Irji'i ila rabbika radiyatan mardiyah. You understand what they're wrong? Where we go wrong? I'll give one example. You talk about people, we talk about Humala being the maximum skillful person, and militarily about an Imam. This is a narration by the 6th Imam. 6th Imam is narrating. It's saying Hisham ibn Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik, we spoke yesterday, Hajjaj, 2 days earlier. Hisham, his son, he becomes the Khalifa. Always has his books against the Ahlul Bayt. This is the time of the 5th Imam. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil fajr.
One day he sends a message to his governor in Medina. I want you to send Baqir to me in Damascus. He was in Damascus. So now the governor comes, he summoned you. The Khalifa of the Muslimin has summoned you. You need to go. So Imam Sadiq said, I didn't leave my dad alone. I said, I'm coming with you. So we went. He says, we entered, I'm very fast forwarding. He said, we entered into Damascus to humiliate us, to denigrate us, to put us down. For 3 days he did not allow us to meet him. This is Baqirul Uluma. Everybody knows. He's the best of the creations. Even Sunnis accept. He goes into some place for 3 days. Somebody calls you to his house, yeah? You go to his house, and then he refuses to meet you for 1 whole day. You'll feel sad, man. You'll feel hurt. You've called me, not even meeting. 3 days he did not allow. The 4th day, Imam Sadiq says, he says, now I'm willing to take you. This was all to humiliate them. Entered into the Darbar. At that time there was an archery competition. You've heard about this so many times. There was an archery competition taking place. So all the best skillful archers of the Islamic Empire were called by Abdul Malik ibn Hisham ibn Abdul Malik, to show them. So, and this was all done to humiliate. All set up. It was a plan. So they go there. After a few formalities, Imam, he turns to the 5th Imam and says, so how are you with your military skills? You were very good when you were young. How is it now? Imam says, I've got old now. I don't indulge into those things now. I've got other work to do. He says, I would like you to show us your skills. So the archery competition is taking place. Yabna Rasulullah, Yabna Rasulullah, because everybody knows. Yeah, here's this thing. Yeah, the target. Come on, bullseye. Start. Imam says, no, 6th Imam is narrating. My father says, he tried to decline. He says, he says, no, I want you to do it. I want you to see how good you are. Imam kept denying, declining, and he kept insisting. He insisted. Imam said, okay. Now all the people are gathered together. The target is set up over there. The idea was, he thought Imam was old at that time. 50 plus. You'll see how he's doing. Imam says, he kept saying no. He says, no, I want you to do it. 6th Imam says, my father picked up the hat. This is the Hujjat of God, Bana. This is the representative of Allah upon the earth. He says, Imam picked up an arrow. He shot at a distance now, and he particularly placed it at a distance that unless you are an absolute mahir, an expert, there's no way you could hit the bullseye. He says, I want to see how you hit it. Imam took the arrow, hit straight into bullseye. He's surprised. He says, Ya Rasulullah, you're still good. Let's try again. Imam Sadiq says, my father picked up the second arrow. See, sometimes, وَأَمَّا بِالنِّعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ कभी खुदा कहता है कि खुदा ने जो तुम्हें नेमत अता फरमाया है लोगों को बयान करो. Show to the people what God has given to you. Don't keep always hiding. Yes, it's good to hide, but sometimes to prove your hujjiyat of God, show it to the people. Imam picked up the first arrow, bullseye. The sixth Imam is saying, my father picked up the second arrow, threw it straight behind the first arrow. Behind the first arrow, now two arrows are one behind the other. Picks up the third. Behind the second arrow, picks up the fourth, behind the third arrow, picks up the fifth, behind the fourth arrow, picks up the sixth, behind the fifth arrow, picks up the seventh, behind the sixth arrow. 7 arrows, one after the other. The first one on the bullseye, the second one, behind the second one, all in one straight line. Hisham ibn Abdul Malik now worried, this man can keep going. He says, stop, because everybody's now worried about it. Everybody's worried, what is this man doing? We at our age of youth, with all our reflexes working absolutely fine, are not able to do what this old man is doing. 7 arrows, one after the other, one hitting the bullseye, and all remaining 6 behind him. This is what we call hujjat of God. At the age of an old age, when his beard is white, he's able to accomplish things which young people do not do. Why? Because he's farther than the others are mafdul. This is what we say. We have to have a correct understanding of hujjat of God. Who is this representative of God that we say, Ashhadu annaka waliyyu? Till we don't understand this, our kids will not understand why this and why this. Don't go into fiqh. Don't try to teach them this is the not correct way and this is the correct way. If you teach them this is not the correct way, this is the correct way, not the correct way, there will be a time when minds will change. Tell them who the real teachers are, then they will never go wrong. Because then always you can say, this is our teacher Imam Sadiq, he said this. He will say, Sam'an wa ta'atan, now I accept, because I've accepted the Sadiq to be the wali of God.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Never approach in a debate on fiqh. Go on usuluddin. Get the usuluddin of our children correct. Our usuluddin of our children get corrected, fiqh will get corrected. Their akhlaq will get corrected. The behavior will get corrected. They will never go astray. They will never stand out. They will always be inside. But teach them about other awliya of Allah, the imams of the Prophet. This is very important for us. We are trying to do things in the wrong way. We're trying to deal with the symptoms. Those symptoms may be suppressed at certain times, but they will always rise up because you've not cured the problem. The problem is the wilayat. The problem is imamat. The problem is usuluddin. Work on the usuluddin. Work on the wilayat. Work on the imamat of your children, and then see. I can guarantee you not one child will go. All these elders were coming and sitting over here for majlis. You think they were not young? They were not young. They didn't have these vagaries of the society. They didn't have these sentiments that current youths have. How is it that they're sitting over here? Because their usul was done correctly by the parents.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
We have not worked on the usul of our parents, of our children. That's why we are failing. I'll give you one hadith about the ilm of how the superior imam is. One day Huzaifa Yamani, everybody knows about. Huzaifa Yamani, one day he's talking to Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain is very small. This is when the Holy Prophet is still alive. Imam Hussain is telling Huzaifa Yamani, Huzaifa, shall I tell you something? Kuch baat bayan karo, aage ki patient, koi bayan karo. The Maulana, aap behtar janate. Kehte isi ummat ki kuch aise afraad ho gaye. In this ummat there will be certain individuals who will kill me mercilessly in Karbala. Who will kill me mercilessly in Karbala. Huzaifa said, I was taken aback. Young boy, 4 Hijri born. The Prophet died in 11 Hijri. The Prophet is still alive, so the Imam is very small. Imam Hassan, 6, 7 years old, 7, 8 years old when the Prophet died. The Prophet is still alive, so they're younger than that. He's saying, Huzaifa, certain members of this community, this ummah are going to kill me in Karbala. So Huzaifa said, I was shocked. He says, Yabna Rasulullah, did the Prophet tell you this? He says, no, the Prophet did not tell me this. Huzaifa said, I could not digest this fact. Here's this boy is telling me I'm going to be killed in Karbala by a group from this ummah. When I'm asking him, who told you? Did the Prophet tell you this? He says, no, the Prophet did not tell me this. Then how did this boy know about it? He leaves Imam Hussain and goes to the Holy Prophet. He says, Ya Rasulullah, I've got a problem. He says, what? He says, I was talking with Hussain. He says, what happened? He says, Hussain said this, Hussain said that. He says, going to be killed. He says, yes, it's true. He says, that's not the point. I believe it's true. It's what happened afterwards. He said, what happened afterwards? He said, I'm asking Hussain, did you, the Prophet, inform him? He says, no. The Prophet did not inform me. I know it. He says, how is it possible? At that time, the Prophet turns to him and says, Ya Huzaifa, understand this. Ilmuhu ilmi, wa ilmi ilmu. My knowledge is his knowledge. His knowledge is mine.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
What do we do about our knowledge? Those people who have gone and just stuck to the Holy Prophet and leaving out the Imams don't know where they've left them. Do you understand the words that the Prophet says? Ilmuhu ilmi, his knowledge is my knowledge. Wa ilmi ilmuhu, my knowledge is his knowledge. This is Habibullah. This is the man for whom Allah created the entire universe. बस एक सवाल एक बात जो है, this I will mention over here, and then we move to the Masail. Then if this is the case, that if the Hujjat of God, whoever is at that time, is the most superior person in everything, whether it is knowledge, whether it is bravery, whether it is courage, whether it is strength, whether it is taqwa, whether it is sakhawat, whether it is shuja, X, Y, Z, then why is it that we hear certain sentences from the Hujjat of God with respect to those who are not to his level? So, give me an example. Rasul Khuda says, I need to conquer Khaybar. Could he not have done it himself? So people say, Shaykh, you said that the Holy Prophet was the strongest, then why did he need to give the flag to Ali ibn Abi Talib? He was the strongest. He could have gone himself and done it. He could have gone and done it himself. And by the way, we've got traditions, huh? The strength of the Holy Prophet was the strength of 40 people. 40 people. Anyway, that's a different hadith in this regard. We don't want to talk. So why did they hand it over to Ali? At times, if it is the sanad is correct, again I'm saying. Yeah, and it's open to discussion. There are certain scholars with different views. I've got my own view. This is not the place to opine my view. This is not my view, so I will not put my view. But Nadi Ali and Madhar al-Ajaib Tadhidu Amna laka fi an-Nawahi. Yes? Ascribed to the Holy Prophet. Khaybar, 39 days, not working. People are failing. Well, he wants Khaybar to be conquered. Why? Aina Ali. So what did he say? Nadi Ali and Madhar al-Ajaib. Call Ali the Madhar al-Ajaib, the manifester of Ajaib. But Sheikh, you just mentioned the Prophet is the most powerful man. He's the most superior. He's the father. And all the others in that current time is maflool. So why did he call Ali? Why did he not do it himself? That's point number one. Point number two, the Prophet is gone now. Ali is the wali of God. He is the hujjat of God. He is the representative of God on the earth. Yes? So now he's the most superior person, the father. When Fatima dies, he says, Alan in kasarata. My back is broken. Third instance in Karbala, in the battlefield. At that time, Hussein is the hujjat of God. He is the wali of God. He is the fadl, all others are mafdul. He is the most superior person in all characteristics that can be found in an individual, a mortal individual, a human. Hussein ibn Ali. Abbas dies, he holds his back and says, Al-an in kasarallah. My back is broken. How do you explain this? It's a very simple explanation the ulama give. Nobody doubted the Holy Prophet, but people doubted Ali. To show what the rank of Ali was, Holy Prophet had to say, Nah, the Ali ibn Abi. To show the rank of Ali ibn Abi. At the time, people regarded Fatima to be equivalent to the wives of the Prophet. They said, just as X, Y, Z, similarly Fatima. The hujjat of God had to tell the people, Baba, she is no ordinary lady. She went, this hujjat of God is not feeling weak. To show the rank of Fatima to Zahra. Same thing with Hazrat Abbas. Says, I may be the hujjat of God, but you need to understand, in my eyes of the Imamat, how I look at Hazrat Abbas. Going of Abbas for me is a weakness for me. Metaphorically. Al-an in kasar dhahri. अब मेरी कमर टूट गई. हकीकत में कमर ना टूटी थी. ये तो बताने के लिए कि मैं कितना जो है वो डिपेंड था उस अब्बास के ऊपर. अब्बास का मर्तबा बताना था मौला को. Not that it is a shortcoming on their part. They will always remain superior. But sometimes you have to show the rank of the others in the eyes of those who doubt their ranks. That's why you find Ali being called by the Holy Prophet. Words of praise by Imam Ali al-Islam for Bibi Fatima. Words of praise of Imam Hussain al-Islam for Hazrat Abbas. You understand how things work? We need to get our understanding of this hujjat of God. And their training, and how they trained their children. And how did Fatima train Zayd? You see, Fatima को जो है वो जनाब ज़ैनब को जो है वो बीबी के निस्बत सानी ज़हरा भी कहा जाता है. The second Zahra. Because she was so close, Bibi Zainab, to Bibi Fatima. In her attributes, in her characteristics, in her traits, in everything. That's why she's referred to Urdu में कहता है सानी Zahra, the second Zahra. And this is true, not only in the life of the Bibi Zahra, but even after her death. You look at the lives of both of them, very similar. Especially in Masail. Especially in Masail. Very similar. You remember that incident, yeah? I've been here for Ayyam Fatima. And we're talking about the Shahadat of the Holy Lady. Bibi ki Shahadat ka bayan hota hai to. I remember that incident when a few people gathered on the door of Hazrat Zahra and they burned the door, and the door was broken down, and Bibi was between the door and the wall, and then there was a martyrdom, Shahadat of Imam Sajjad. You remember that incident and how Bibi called out, Ya Fidda, Khudini. Take hold of me, Fidda. For I'm so surely, Wallahi, by Allah, my son Mohsin has died. That dhulm was done on Bibi Zahra. The house burnt, the door burnt, Bibi injured, and I've mentioned this before, that when the door fell, the nail pierced the chest of Bibi. Somebody asks the sixth Imam, how was the pain that Bibi felt when that injury took place on her chest? The sixth Imam begins to weep. The Rabbi says, why are you weeping? He said, you don't know what I know? He says, what is it? He said, that nail that pierced the chest of my grandmother was so penetrative and so deep that from that day till the time she was dying, she died. Every breath that she would take, blood would ooze out from that hole, from that injury, from that hurt. You imagine what that means? In a minute, how many times do you take a breath? Every time a breath was being taken, blood was coming out of the body of Zahra. You know what it means? Every breath, Zahra was being killed. Whether it is 75 days or whether it is 95 days. If it is 95 days, even worse. For 95 days, 1,000 times in a day, Zahra is being killed. Mohsin is killed. She is injured. She comes out to save Ali ibn Abi Talib. I'm just taking you to the different ranks here. She is taken out, she goes out. When she wakes up, she sees Ali is not there. She asks, Fizza, Aina Abul Hassan? Aina Abul Hassan? Where is Abul Hassan? He says she's taken outside with the rope around her neck. She takes her chadar, one hand on her stomach, one hand on her broken ribs. She goes outside, she holds the hand, she holds the Abba of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Khallu Abul Hassan, leave Abul Hassan, leave my Ali. At that time, an individual does one act that I keep repeating whenever I mention this incident. Tabbat yada. May Allah curse that hand that rose up and slapped the face of Fatima Zahra. So door burned, injured, Hazrat Mohsin, the son, killed, and she is now slapped. But eventually Ali is now taken to Masjid al-Nabi. When she realizes they're not leaving him, she tells to the people, if you don't leave Ali, I'm going to the grave of my grandfather and I'm going to curse you all. Fatima's husband Ali hears about this. He tells Salman, go tell Fatima not to do but dua. Because if she raises her hands for cursing these people, not a single individual in Medina will be allowed to escape by God. At that time, people saw the land of Medina shaking. They realized now Bibi is serious. They told Ali, go. Fatima goes, holds Riwayat says she holds Ali's hands. She holds Ali's hands. The door of the house of Ali was from Masjid al-Nabi. She goes from the Masjid al-Nabi into the house. Fatima's door was burnt. Fatima was injured. Fatima's son was killed. Fatima was slapped. But at least she was able to relieve the Imam of her time. She was able to save the Imam of our time. But hi Zainab. Hi Zainab. Zainab was also slapped. Shami Ghariba. A Shimr coming to slap Fatima to Zainab Kubra. Zainab's house was also burnt. The tents were burnt down in Karbala. Zainab also lost her children. Oh, Muhammad lying on the plains of Karbala. There Mohsin killed. Here Muhammad killed. There Zahra slapped. Here Zainab slapped. Here the house is burnt. The door is burnt. There the tent is burnt. All along Zainab is with her mother Fatima Zahra. But over here there is a difference. There Fatima could save the Imam of the time. Fatima could save the Hujjat of God. But over here Zainab is not able to save. She's standing on that little mound looking at the battle. All of a sudden Hurmala's arrow comes and strikes Hussein ibn Ali. Now the son of Hussein of Zara is not able to stabilize onto the horse. He falls down into what we call Gudale Katlaga, the depression where Imam is killed. Now Zainab is not able to see what is happening, but she sees something taking place. She sees Shimr walking towards that place where Hussein falls down, but then she sees something that makes her beat her face and her hair. She sees Shimr taking out the knife, entering into the depression. She turns to Umar Asad and says, hey Umar Asad, do you not see Shimr is going to kill my brother? Ama fiikum Muslim, is there nobody amongst you who's a Muslim? A Muslim is being slaughtered by another man. Umar Asad, save my brother. But no reply from Umar Asad, but a reply did come from whom? From Jibreel. قد قتل الحسين بكربلاء قد ذبح الحسين بكربلاء. سيعلم الذين كفروا بما انقلبوا يقولون لا لعنة الله على الكافرين. فالرضا بواسطة محمد والمحمود بحق محمد وانت المحمود وبحق علي وانت العظيم بحق فاطمة وانت فاطر السماوات والارض وبحق الحسن وانت المحسن وبحق الحسين وانت القديم والاحسان وبحق التسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين الإسلام وقالوا ذكر हमारी करीब बात करते हुए बात हम कबूल और ذكر हमारे तमाम गुनाहों कबीरा और सगीरा को तेरे बात हम माफ कर और ذكر हमारे बच्चों के दिल में अली और आले अली की मोहब्बत को कर और ذكر हमारी नस्ल क़यामत तक है और सालिहीन से करार दे और सभी के दिल में अली और आले अली की मोहब्बत और गुनाह नसीब और ذكر जो मरीज़ हैं को शिफा की शिफा कामिल नसीब फरमा और ذكر जो महफूज हैं के कर्ज़ों को अदा फरमा जो तंगदस्तान की तंगदस्ती को दूर फरमा और ذكر जो माली हालत से परेशान है उनकी रिस्क में वसअत अता फरमा और ذكر हमारा जो एग्ज़ाम का साया में दाखिल आज़ाद इल्मिया की हिफाजत फरमा और ذكر हमारा आक़िबत बख़ैर हो हम दुनिया से गए तो या अली और या हुसैन कहते हैं और ذكر हमारे मरहूमीन की मग़फ़िरत फरमा उनकी और हमारी बरज़ख की और आखिरत की ज़िंदगी को आसान फरमा दुनिया और आखिरत में तेरे अज़ाब और गज़ब से हमें महफूज़ रखना क़यामत में और आखिरत में हमें अहले बैत के साथ महशूर फरमा सुब्हान रब्बिका रब्बिल इज़्ज़ति अम्मा यसिफ़ून वस्सलामुन अलल मुरसलीन Alhamdulillah.
اللهم صل على محمد